The tree is known by its fruit. The tree that produces bad fruit is not good, and the tree that produces good fruit is not bad, for each tree is known by its own fruit. Figs cannot be picked from thorn bushes, nor can bunches of grapes be cut from briars. A good man brings forth good things from the good treasure of his heart, whereas the bad man takes bad things from the bad treasure of his heart, for the mouth speaks from what fills the heart. Luke 6 verses 43 to 45. Beware of the false prophets who come to you covered in the skins of sheep, but who on the inside are ravenous wolves. You will know them by their fruit. Can grapes be picked from thorn bushes, or figs from briars? Thus, every tree that is good produces good fruit, and every tree that is bad produces bad fruit. A good tree cannot produce bad fruit, nor can a bad tree produce good fruit. Every tree that does not produce good fruit will be cut down and cast into the fire. Hence, you will know them by their fruit. Matt 7:15-20. Take care so that no one deceives you, for many will come in my name saying, I am the Christ, and they will deceive many. Many false prophets will appear, who will deceive many people. And because iniquity will abound, the charity of many will grow cold. But he who perseveres to the end will be saved. Therefore, if someone says to you, the Christ is here or the Christ is there, do not believe him. For false Christs and false prophets will appear and will perform great prodigies and amazing things to the point of deceiving the elect themselves, if possible. Matt 24:4-5, 11-13, 23-24, Mark 13 verses 5-6, 21-22.
The mission of prophets. Prophets are commonly perceived as possessing the gift of being able to reveal the future, so that the words prophecies and predictions have become synonymous. However, in its evangelical sense, the word prophet has a broader meaning. It applies to all who have been sent by God with the mission of instructing humankind and revealing hidden things and the mysteries of the spiritual life. Hence, a person can be a prophet without making predictions. This was the notion of the Jews during the time of Jesus. Thus, when he was taken before the high priest, Caiaphas, the assembled scribes and elders spat in his face, struck him with their fists and insulted him by saying, Christ, prophesy for us and tell us who struck you. Nevertheless, there have been instances in which prophets have had foreknowledge of the future, whether by intuition or by providential revelation, in order to transmit warnings to humankind. Since such predicted events actually occurred, the gift of predicting the future came to be regarded as one of the attributes of a prophet. Prodigies performed by false prophets. False Christs and false prophets will appear, who will perform great prodigies and amazing things to the point of deceiving the elect themselves. These words provide the true meaning of the term prodigy. In the theological definition, prodigies and miracles are exceptional phenomena that occur outside the laws of nature. Since the laws of nature are the work of God exclusively, God could obviously derogate from them if so desired. However, simple common sense says that God could not have possibly given unevolved and perverse beings a power equal to the divine power, and even less the right to undo what God has done. Jesus could not have consecrated such a principle. If, according to the meaning that has been attributed to these two words, the spirit of evil has the power to perform such prodigies to the point that the elect themselves are deceived, the result would be that, being able to do what God does, prodigies and miracles are not the exclusive privilege of those sent by God. Moreover, they would not prove anything, since nothing would distinguish the miracles performed by saints from the miracles performed by the devil. It is therefore necessary to look for a more rational meaning for these words. To uneducated common folk, every phenomenon with an unknown cause comes across as supernatural, extraordinary and miraculous. Once the cause is known, it is realized that the phenomenon, as extraordinary as it may seem, is nothing other than the application of a natural law. In this manner, the circle of supernatural events shrinks to the extent that the circle of scientific knowledge broadens. For the advancement of their ambitions, interests, and domination, certain people in all eras have exploited their specialized knowledge in order to give themselves the prestige of a supposedly superhuman power or a supposed divine mission. These are the false Christs and false prophets. The spreading of enlightenment destroys their credibility, and that is why their numbers dwindle to the degree that people become enlightened. The fact that they perform what in the eyes of certain people come across as prodigies is not, therefore, the sign of a divine mission, since it could result from knowledge that anyone may acquire, or from special organic faculties that the most unworthy persons may possess as well as the most worthy. True prophets are recognized by more serious, exclusively moral characteristics. Do not believe all spirits.
Dearly beloved, do not believe all spirits, but test whether the spirits are from God, for many false prophets have appeared in the world. 1 John 4 verse 1.
Spirit phenomena, far from giving credibility to false Christs and false prophets, as some people love to say, have, much to the contrary, come to deal them a final blow. Do not ask Spiritism for prodigies or miracles, since it formally declares that it does not perform them. Just as physics, chemistry, astronomy, and geology have revealed the laws of the physical world, Spiritism has revealed other, unknown laws that govern relations between the corporeal and the spirit world, and like those of its elder sibling, science, Spiritism's laws are laws of nature. By providing an explanation for a certain order of phenomena that have been incomprehensible until now, Spiritism is destroying what still remains of the realm of the extraordinary. Consequently, those who would be tempted to exploit such phenomena for their own profit and to pass themselves off as messiahs of God cannot abuse people's credulity for long, and shall soon be unmasked. Moreover, as has been stated, these phenomena per se prove nothing. A mission is proven by its moral effects, which are not given to just anyone to produce. This is one of the results of the development of the Spiritist science. By scrutinizing the cause of certain phenomena, it lifts the veil on many mysteries. Those who prefer the darkness to the light are the only ones interested in combating it, but the truth is like the sun, it dissipates the densest fog. Spiritism has revealed another category much more dangerous than false Christs and prophets. It is found not among incarnates, but among discarnates, that of deceiving, hypocritical, proud and pseudo-learned spirits who have passed from the earth to the spirit world and have adorned themselves with venerated names in order to seek, thanks to the mask with which they have covered themselves, to give credence to the most bizarre and absurd ideas. Before mediumistic interactions were known, such spirits exerted their actions in a less ostensive way, through inspiration or through unconscious hearing or speaking mediumship. The number of those who, at various times, but especially as of late, have presented themselves as certain ancient prophets, as Christ, as Mary, the mother of Christ, and even as God, is considerable. John's letter warns against them when he says, "Dearly beloved, do not believe all spirits, but test whether the spirits are from God, for many false prophets have appeared in the world." Spiritism provides the means to test them by pointing out the characteristics by which good spirits can be recognized, characteristics that are always moral and never material. Point 33. It is in the distinguishing between good and bad spirits that these words of Jesus can be especially applied. The quality of a tree can be recognized by its fruit. A good tree cannot produce bad fruit and a bad tree cannot produce good fruit. Spirits are judged by the quality of their deeds, just as a tree by the quality of its fruit.
The Spirit's teachings. False prophets. If they tell you, "The Christ is here," do not go there. On the contrary, be on your guard, because there will be many false prophets. Do you not see the leaves of the fig tree beginning to fade? Do you not see its many shoots waiting for the time of blossoming? And did not Christ say to you, "A tree is known by its fruit"? Thus, if the fruit is bitter, you say that the tree is bad, but if the fruit is sweet and healthful, you say, nothing that is this pure could come from a bad tree. This is the way you must judge, my brothers and sisters. The deeds are what you must examine. If those who say they are vested with the divine power are accompanied by all the signs of such a mission, that is, if they possess the highest degree of the eternal and Christian virtues, charity, love, indulgence, the goodness that reconciles all souls, if, in support of their words, they add actions, then you can say, these are truly messengers of God. However, distrust sugary words. Distrust the scribes and Pharisees who pray in the public squares, dressed in long robes. Distrust those who claim to have the one and only monopoly on the truth. No, Christ is not there. For those whom he sends to disseminate his holy doctrine and to regenerate his people by following his example will be kind and humble of heart above all else. Those who by their example and counsels must save humankind, quickly heading towards perdition and roaming tortuous roads, will be above all else modest and humble. Run from those who display one atom of pride, as if they were contagious lepers who infect everything they touch. Remember that all individuals bear on their brow, but more especially on their actions, the stamp of their greatness or decadence. Go forth, therefore, my beloved children, advance without hesitation, without ulterior motives, along the blessed course you have undertaken. Go forth always without fear. Courageously distance yourselves from anything that could hinder your progress toward the eternal objective. O travelers, you will be in the darkness and pain of trial for only a little while longer, if you allow your hearts to follow that gentle doctrine that has come to reveal to you the eternal laws and to satisfy all the aspirations of your soul regarding the unknown. Right now you can give embodiment to those fleeting sylphs you have seen in your dreams, and which, being ephemeral, could only enchant your spirit without saying anything to your heart. Now, my dear ones, death has disappeared, giving way to the radiant angel you have come to know, the angel of re-encounter and reunion. Now, you will well fulfill the task imposed by the Creator. You have nothing more to fear of his justice, for he is a father and always forgives his wayward children who clamor for mercy. Therefore, press on, advance without ceasing. Let your banner be progress, continual progress in all things, until you finally arrive at the happy destination where all those who have preceded you await. Louis Bordeaux, 1861. Characteristics of true prophets.
Distrust false prophets. This recommendation is useful at all times, but especially at times of transition, when, like this one, a transformation of humanity is in the making and a multitude of ambitious and scheming individuals set themselves up as reformers and messiahs. It is against such impostors that one must be on guard, and it is the duty of all honest persons to unmask them. You will undoubtedly ask how they can be recognized. These are their signs. The command of an army is entrusted only to a competent general capable of leading it. So, do you think that God would be less prudent than humans? Be certain that he entrusts important missions only to those he knows are capable of fulfilling them, for great missions are heavy burdens that would crush individuals who are too weak to bear them. As in all matters, the master must know more than the apprentice. In order to enable humankind to advance morally and intellectually, individuals who are superior in morality and intelligence are required. That is why missions are always entrusted to spirits who are already very advanced after having completed their trials in previous lifetimes, and who now incarnate with this objective. If they are not superior to the environment in which they must act, their efforts will be fruitless. That said, we must conclude that true missionaries of God must justify their mission by their ascendancy, virtues and greatness, and the results and moralizing influence of their deeds. Let us draw a further conclusion. If by their character, virtues, and intelligence they are either beneath the role they attribute to themselves or the personage under whose name they harbor themselves, they are nothing but histrions of low rank, who do not even know how to emulate their model. Another consideration is that most true missionaries of God are unaware of the fact. They carry out the mission to which they have been called through the force of their genius, seconded by a hidden power that inspires and guides them without their knowing it, and with no premeditated plan. In other words, true prophets are revealed by their actions. They are discovered by others, whereas false prophets present themselves as messengers from God. The former are humble and modest, the latter are proud and full of themselves. They speak with arrogance, and like all deceitful persons, always seem fearful of not being believed. We have seen some impostors passing themselves off as apostles of Christ, others as Christ himself, and what is shameful for humankind is that they have found people gullible enough to believe such turpitudes. Nevertheless, one very simple consideration should open the eyes of the most blind, which is, if Christ were to reincarnate on the earth, he would come with all his power and all his virtues, unless we were to believe that he had degenerated, which would be absurd. Now, in the same way that if just one of God's attributes were taken away, you would no longer have God. If just one of Christ's virtues were taken away, you would no longer have Christ. Do those who present themselves as Christ possess all his virtues? That is the question. Observe them, scrutinize their ideas and actions, and you will realize that more than anything else, they lack the distinctive qualities of Christ, humility and charity, whereas they do possess what he did not, greed and pride. Moreover, notice that at this very moment there are many supposed Christs in various countries, just as there are many supposed Elijahs, St. John's or St. Peter's, and that obviously they cannot all be authentic. You can be certain that they are individuals who are exploiting the credulity of others and who find it comfortable to live at the expense of those who listen to them. Therefore, distrust false prophets, especially during a time of renewal, because many impostors will say they are messengers from God. They provide themselves with vain satisfaction while on the earth, but a terrible justice awaits them, you can be sure of that. Erastus, Paris, 1862.
False prophets in the spirit world. False prophets are not found only among incarnates. They are also, and in much larger numbers, found among proud spirits, who, under the false appearance of love and charity, sow disunion and retard the work of humankind's emancipation, obstructing it with their absurd theories, which they make their mediums believe. And to better fascinate 30 for those they want to exploit and to give more weight to their theories, they unscrupulously adorn themselves with names that people do not pronounce except with respect. These are the spirits who sow the seeds of antagonism among groups, who compel them to isolate themselves and to look at each other with suspicion. This alone should be enough to unmask them, because by acting in such a manner they themselves offer the most categorical denial of who they claim to be. Blind are those persons, therefore, who allow themselves to fall into such a blatant trap. However, there are many other means for recognizing them. Spirits of the order to which they say they belong must not only be very good, but eminently rational as well. So then, pass their theories through the sieve of reason and common sense, and you will see what remains of them. You will agree with me that every time a spirit indicates as a remedy for the ills of humankind, or as a means of achieving its transformation, utopian and impracticable things or childish and ridiculous measures, or when it formulates a theory contradicted by the most basic notions of science, it can only be an ignorant and deceitful spirit. On the other hand, you can be sure that if certain individuals do not always appreciate the truth, it is always appreciated by the good sense of the masses, which is one more criterion. If two principles contradict each other, you will have the measure of their intrinsic worth by seeking out which one enjoys greater significance and more sympathy. In fact, it would be illogical to believe that a doctrine that saw the number of its adherents diminish could be truer than another that sees its number increase. In wanting the truth to reach everybody, God does not confine it within a closed circle. He makes it appear at different points so that everywhere the light may be alongside the darkness. Mercilessly shun all spirits who present themselves as exclusive counselors, preaching separation and isolation. They are nearly always vain and mediocre spirits, who tend to impose themselves on weak and credulous individuals, lavishing exaggerated praise on them in order to fascinate them and keep them under their domination. They are usually spirits eager for power, and who, as public or private despots during their lifetimes, once more want to have victims to tyrannize after their death. In general, distrust communications that entail a mystical or odd character, or that prescribe rituals and bizarre actions. There is always a legitimate motive for suspicion in such cases. On the other hand, you may be sure that whenever a truth must be revealed to humankind, it is, so to speak, communicated instantaneously to all serious groups that have serious mediums, and not to this or that group to the exclusion of all others. No one is a perfect medium if obsessed, and there is manifest obsession whenever a medium is apt to receive communications from only one particular spirit, no matter how high it tries to place itself. Consequently, all mediums or groups who believe themselves to be privileged by communications only they can receive, as well as being subjected to practices that emphasize superstition, undoubtedly are under the influence of a well-characterized obsession, especially when the dominating spirit adorns itself with a name that every spirit and incarnate should honor and respect instead of grossly misuse. It is incontestable that, by submitting all the facts and communications from spirits to the crucible of reason and logic, it will be easy to reject absurdity and error. One medium can be fascinated and one group deluded. However, the strict assessment by other groups, the knowledge acquired, the high moral authority of group leaders, the communications of the principal mediums who receive a stamp of logic and authenticity from our best spirits, will render rapid justice to these deceitful and cunning communications originated by a horde of deceitful or bad spirits. Erastus, disciple of St. Paul, Paris, 1862.
Jeremiah and the false prophets. This is what the Lord of hosts says: do not listen to the words of prophets who prophesy and deceive you. They publicize the visions of their hearts and not what they have learned from the mouth of the Lord. They say to those who blaspheme me, the Lord says to you, you shall have peace, and to all those who walk in the corruption of their hearts, no evil will touch you. But who amongst them has heeded the counsel of God? Who has seen him and listened to what he has said? I have not sent such prophets, they run by themselves. I have not spoken to them, and they prophesy from their own head. I have heard what these prophets have said, who prophesy lies in my name, saying, I dreamed, I dreamed. How long will this fantasy be in the hearts of prophets who prophesy lies and whose prophecies are only the deceptions of their own hearts? Therefore, if this people or a prophet or a priest asks you and says, what is the burden of the Lord? Say, you yourself are the burden, and I shall cast you far from me, says the Lord. Jeremiah 23 verses 16 to 18, 21, 25 to 26, 33. It is this passage from the prophet Jeremiah that I would like to discuss with you, my friends. Speaking through Jeremiah, God says, it is the vision of their own hearts that makes them speak. These words clearly indicate that already at that time charlatans and impassioned persons abused the gift of prophecy and exploited it. Consequently, they abused the simple, nearly blind faith of the people by predicting good and agreeable things in return for money. This type of fraud was very widespread within the Jewish nation, and it is easy to understand that, in their ignorance, the poor were unable to distinguish good prophets from bad ones, and were more often than not deceived by these so-called prophets, who were nothing more than impostors or fanatics. There is nothing more significant than these words, I have not sent such prophets, and they run by themselves. I have not spoken to them, yet they have prophesied. Further on, he says, I have heard these prophets who prophesy lies in my name, saying, I dreamed, I dreamed. This points out one of the ways they used in order to exploit the trust the people had in them. Always credulous, the multitudes did not even think about contesting the veracity of their dreams or visions. They found it very natural and were always inviting such prophets to speak. After Jeremiah's words, listen to the wise counsels of the Apostle John, when he said, do not believe all spirits, but test the spirits to see if they are from God, for amongst the invisible there are also those who love to delude when they get the chance. The deluded are obviously mediums who do not take enough precautions. This is unquestionably one of the biggest stumbling blocks upon which many mediums stumble, especially if they are new to Spiritism. It is a trial for them that they can triumph over only by using great prudence. Therefore, before anything else, learn to distinguish between good and bad spirits, so that you yourselves do not become false prophets. Luaz, a protector spirit, Karlsruhe, 1861,